Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com, setting the record straight about the enemies of civilization. Over the past 12 years, I've been studying the climate propaganda war very closely. So I'm very familiar with the propaganda techniques being used by the press and social media. These same propaganda techniques are being used across the board about every aspect of our society. Let's take a look at this piece from Twitter today. Multiple people shot during the third night of protests in Kenosha, Wisconsin, following the police shooting of Jacob Blake. According to reports by the New York Times and Washington Post, multiple people were shot amid ongoing protests against police brutality in the city. The first thing to look at is the photograph. They show white stormtroopers standing across the line from black protesters. The implication of this is that evil white police are shooting black people because of the color of their skin. And if that's not bad enough, even more peaceful protesters were shot last night, and all they were trying to do was protest police brutality. Everything about this piece is carefully designed to inflame racial hatred and hatred against the police. This is not news reporting. This is propaganda designed to inflame hatred and violence. Now let's look at the New York Times article from 2 days ago. Peaceful marches in Kenosha, Wisconsin against the police shooting of Jacob Blake, a black resident, gave way to fires and destruction. So once again, the theme is being thrown out that the police are racist, the protesters are peaceful, and somehow it magically gave way to fires and destruction. Of course, the fires and destruction are what the New York Times is hoping to produce by inflaming all this racial hatred. Now let's look at what's actually going on with the peaceful protesters in Kenosha. Many people showed up with the intention of starting fires, rioting, creating havoc, and destroying property.
This dude just worked the hoist in that shit. Holy shit. This is full on riot. You heard Andrew right there. Oh, damn, there it is. Holy shit, guys. CJ, welcome to a real riot, bro. Ain't no fucking dumpster fires and that bullshit. No, this is a dump truck fire. Dump truck fire.
These are not peaceful protesters, and this has nothing to do with racism. It's about Marxist anarchists trying to seize power, and being assisted by Twitter, the New York Times, and the Washington Post. And then today, the New York Times tries to blame the violence on militias guarding a gas station, who are simply people trying to keep the protesters from burning their gas station down. These anarchists with their fists raised could potentially have killed hundreds of people by setting fire to a gas station. And the New York Times is aiding and abetting them. Social media and the press invariably try to use the word militia as a bad word. But the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution reads, "A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." One of the primary points of the Second Amendment was to allow people to protect their property from armed thugs like the ones the New York Times is supporting. Now let's look at a video which was shown at the Republican National Convention, which is a very good description of what's going on in America today.
Good evening, America. We are Mark and Patty McCloskey. We're speaking to you tonight from St. Louis, Missouri, where just weeks ago you may have seen us defending our home as a mob of protesters descended on our neighborhood.
America is such a great country that not only do you have the right to own a gun and use it to defend yourself, but thousands of Americans will offer you free advice on how to use it. At least that's what we experienced. What you saw happen to us could just as easily happen to any of you who are watching from quiet neighborhoods around our country. And that's what we want to speak to you about tonight.
That's exactly right. Whether it's the defunding of police, ending cash bail so criminals can be released back out on the streets the same day to riot again, or encouraging anarchy and chaos on our streets, it seems as if the Democrats no longer view the government's job as protecting honest citizens from criminals, but rather protecting criminals from honest citizens. Not a single person in the out-of-control mob you saw at our house was charged with a crime. But you know who was? We were. They've actually charged us with felonies for daring to defend our home. On top of that, consider this. The Marxist liberal activist leading the mob to our neighborhood stood outside our home with a bullhorn screaming, "You can't stop the revolution." Just weeks later, that same Marxist activist won the Democrat nomination to hold a seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. In the city of St. Louis, that's the same as winning the general election. That Marxist revolutionary is now going to be the Congresswoman from the 1st District of Missouri. These radicals are not content with marching in the streets. They want to walk the halls of Congress. They want to take over. They want power. This is Joe Biden's party. These are the people who will be in charge of your future and the future of your children.
They're not satisfied with spreading the chaos and violence into our communities. They want to abolish the suburbs altogether by ending single-family home zoning. This forced rezoning would bring crime, lawlessness, and low-quality apartments into now thriving suburban neighborhoods. President Trump smartly ended this government overreach, but Joe Biden wants to bring it back. These are the policies that are coming to a neighborhood near you. So make no mistake, no matter where you live, your family will not be safe in the radical Democrats' America.
At this moment in history, if you stand up for yourself and for the values our country was founded on, the mob, spurred on by their allies in the media, will try to destroy you. You've seen us on your TV screens and Twitter feeds. You know that we're not the kind of people who back down. Thankfully, neither is Donald Trump. President Trump will defend the God-given right of every American to protect their homes and their families. But more than that, Trump's vision for America is a country where you have an opportunity to work hard and build the life you dream of, with a job you love, with your children being educated in great schools, in a community where your family can play in the backyard without fear, worship in a church without shame, and express your beliefs without retribution. Trump brought us the greatest economy our country had ever seen. The Democrats have brought us nothing but destruction.
When we don't have basic safety and security in our communities, we'll never be free to build a brighter future for ourselves, for our children, or for our country. That's what's at stake in this election, and that's why we must re-elect Donald Trump. God bless you. God bless the President.
And God bless these United States.
Until people accept the fact that the press and social media are actively working to destroy civilization, it's going to be very difficult to correct the problem. Toto thinks that conservatives need to get very concerned and very involved in their communities, because sitting around watching television is exactly the wrong thing to do. You can visit Toto on the web at realclimatescience.com.